Feeling kind of quiet, huh? Yes, you are. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Voodoo Garden. My name is Ray. I am the host of this nonsense I like to call the Voodoo Garden. This is my lovely co-host, Rascal. And Rascal's a little bit quiet, as you can see. Normally he's running all over, doing everything, making sure everything's okay. Today he's a little bit quiet, and that's because yesterday he had a little bit too much fun. And he has fun all the time. He's a rough and tumble, no nonsense, get to it kind of dog. He loves to be out there running around just like just about any dog. But Rascal is a little different than all the other dogs I've ever had, because when he runs, he doesn't just run. He throws himself into it. When he runs, it's like those cartoons where they just go, and they just launch themselves. That's how he does. He launches himself through the air. Problem is, ground isn't perfect and level, and sometimes there's dips in the ground and stuff, and every now and then he hits a low spot and he doesn't quite anticipate it. If you've done that, you've been walking along and the ground's a little bit lower and you kind of stumble and you feel kind of stupid and you look around and see if anybody's looking. Well, he did that and he rolled. I checked him. I always check him to make sure he's okay. He came home limping with one of his shoulders. I checked him. There was nothing broken. He limped for a few hours, and then he just kind of favored his left leg overnight. And today he's just a little bit quieter, but he'll be out there running around later on. I just wanted to mention that in case anybody's wondering why he's so still, because normally he's a bundle of energy and he's not still. Anyway, enough of Rascal. I can't get enough of Rascal. I'm sorry about that. Well, today's episode isn't really so much of a teaching you episode or any kind of stuff that's going to hurt your brain. Today I'm just putzing around in the Voodoo Garden. I thought maybe you might want to join me. I got some stuff here that I'm working with, and yeah, he's my inspector. There's number one. There's number two. Yeah, that's pretty good stuff, huh? You just want to roll in it. This is my compost, for those of you who don't know. This is the stuff that I'm bagging up, and I'm getting it ready. I have about one of these tubs filled with these bags of compost, and when I'm done, which should be this next month, I should have 3 of these tubs heaping full of these bags of compost. I'm trying to gear up and get ready to sell this stuff because people liked it and they want to purchase it. Well, I'm getting this stuff ready, and this is nothing more than dehydrated compost, dehydrated and ground up into powder. Now, I wanted to show you something because this is the stuff that I'm using myself. I wanted to show you how I use this and what I'm using it on, and also a couple procedures I'm going to be doing today. So let's get started with the ingredients that I'm going to be using. Get off my butt. And oh, by the way, you always see me sitting on this little stool. Normally, I don't even use this stool. I just sit right on my butt right here on the floor. So that's just a prop. Anyway, what we have here, he loves these tubs. It was a couple years ago that a friend from Texas, he sent me some of these huge grubs. Remember those huge grubs when I was composting? Well, Rascal loved those grubs. I don't know why, but he wanted to kill them. And so every time I opened up one of these tubs, he'd stand up and he'd shove his head in the tub. So normally when he's feeling better, every time I open a tub for to mix my potting soil, he shoves his head in there. Rascal, what's in here? Could be anything, huh? There we go. Yeah, that's nice. This is the potting soil that I use. This is my potting soil. Nothing special. There is no special brand or anything that I use for potting soil. I wanted to bring this to your attention because a lot of folks will ask me, Ray, what do you use to grow your plants inside? I want to try and get the same results. Well, this is what I'm doing now. I've gone through a lot of experimentations throughout the years, and I try different things. It's not that I don't like certain methods, it's just that I try them for a while, they work or they don't work, and then I move on to something else, kind of like trying different foods. And, well, you'll never know unless you try. Anyway, this is very inexpensive potting soil. I don't know why I keep saying compost. I think it's because I have some compost here in the room. And now what I'm doing is just loosening it up. Sometimes this potting soil will come in clumps. I suggest just breaking it up. Normally, this is just shredded bark and peat moss, usually, sometimes coir or cocoa peat, and those little white flecks. That's vermiculite or perlite. And that's basically all this potting soil ever has in it. Some of them will spray in some organic fertilizer, some will spray in inorganic fertilizer, that way you can grow stuff out of it, but they don't put much in there. That's the downside of using potting soil, because it doesn't last for very long. You know, it'll look like this for years, but that doesn't mean there's anything actually good inside the potting soil. And that's unlike regular soil. And let me show you, I'm going to just keep you right there and I'll bring everything to you. Isn't that convenient? Yep. And this is the stuff I was showing you in the bag. And I'm going to open this slow because it's kind of powderized. And I'm going to show you what I normally put in here. This is the dried, pulverized compost. Yeah, it looks kind of crappy and it doesn't, see how the dust comes out? You have to use this on a very still day or outside. And normally what I would do in this is I would take a little of this dried compost and mix it in with this potting soil because this is slightly moist. And what that does is this compost here, it has nutrients in it. It's very nutrient dense. What it's going to do is it's going to charge up this potting soil with nutrients that are going to last a lot longer than the stuff that's already in here. Now, that being said that I have the dried compost, the reason that I have the dried compost is I have to heat it up to kill any kind of insects or insect eggs or anything bad that's going to come inside. Outdoors I don't have to worry about that because there's a balance outside. Indoors I have to worry about that. That's why I do that. Now I'm dehydrating it only because I'm selling it and I need to remove the moisture to make the package smaller and lighter. Normally I don't dehydrate it. Normally it would come in looking like this. This is my homemade compost from outside. It has leaves, grass, dandelions, chicken manure, straw, wood chips. This is dark, rich garden gold. This stuff is the exact same thing as this stuff, only I dry it and powderize it. So they're identical. Now, the difference between this and this is that this I can crumble up and it has a lot more mass in it. See how it has fluff to it? Those are the leaves. And that is going to give it a good texture when I mix it into here. This doesn't do it so much. This is designed to make compost tea. And compost tea, and this is for people who don't know, okay? So if you already know this, just bear with me because I want to explain it. I have new people signing on all the time. You would normally use this for indoor growing, and this is well and good. But after a while, you know, if you have success and you grow your plants may use up all the nutrients in the soil. How are you going to get nutrients back in that soil? You have like a few different ways. You could buy artificial fertilizer and then just mix it with the water and pour it in there, sprinkle in granulated fertilizer, or make some compost tea and water it with the compost tea. That's where this comes in handy. You get all the benefits of this nice rich compost in a liquid form. Now, I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to move you over somewhere. Hold on. This is my bucket of, this unappealing looking bucket is my compost tea. What I would normally do is I would take some compost, drop it in there, add water, let it set overnight. You don't have to have a bubbler or sugar or anything like that. It's not that kind of a tea. This is a steeped tea where you just put in the compost, let it set overnight, and it extracts the nutrients into the water. Then you use that water. Let me show you. See how it's a little bit darker? It's not black like real dark coffee. It's the color of tea. And this is the compost tea. This is what I water my plants with every single time I water them. So it gives them a very slow, constant feeding. And you can look anywhere on my plants in here and you won't see any brown spots on the leaves. That's normally from over-fertilizing. Well, not normally, but that is what will happen if you over-fertilize your plants. It's impossible to do that with compost tea. Now, normally outside I would use this for compost tea. The problem is, if I use this in here, there's large chunks. And I dip my water can in here like this to water my plants. See this little spout? Yeah, those big nuggets, they're not going through that little itty bitty spout. So I would have a problem. That's where powderizing this, granulating it, comes in handy. I just take about, I think it's a half a cup, 2 tablespoons per gallon. I put it in here, add the water, let it set overnight, and this is what I get. I didn't use my regular compost for this. I used this. So that's why I'm preparing this for sale, because people want to get the same results that I get here. Adding compost into your soil is ideal. Some people can't do that, and they can't afford to buy large amounts of compost to add with their potting soil. That's where the compost tea comes in. That's the secondary way of doing this. That's why I want to bring this to your attention. People ask, you know, Ray, what are you doing? I want to explain this up close so that you'll understand. Now for inside, what I'm going to do is take some of this compost, and it comes in clumps, powderized little pieces of stick, because this is compost made outside. Ooh, even a rock. Okay, I don't want to put the rock in there. I'm going to just throw in some compost, set this aside, and what I do is I just sit in here, and it's methodical for me. Some of this is dry and crunchy, like this. Some of it is moist and sticky, almost like fudge. Now what I'm doing is I just go through here and just mix it up with my hands. The nice thing about the cooked compost, and that's what this is that you don't have to worry about centipedes, spiders, any kind of insects. Some people have phobias about that, and the sterilization process does get rid of those, although it's not hot enough to get rid of the nutrients that are in here. So you don't have to worry about that. This is what I'm using right now for potting soil in the Voodoo garden. Just mix in compost, and it also is going to have a really nice texture, and it's going to not pack down quite like potting soil. This gives us all the nutrients that it's going to need for the life of the plant. All right, eventually this would run out, but the compost tea helps keep it nice and rich. The last ingredient that I use, it's a very basic mix. This is called vermiculite. This is the stuff that I mentioned in an episode, a question and answering episode. Pour in some of this, and you can use perlite if it's available at your stores. And I just put a heavy sprinkle of that in there and just toss it around. This is indoor soil, and this is all I use for my plants. The vermiculite helps it drain, and it also holds a little bit of moisture. Not too much, but just a little bit of moisture. The compost holds moisture just a little bit, but it also gives it a nice texture where it doesn't pack hard. You know, sometimes you have a potted plant and the soil packs really hard. When you add compost and you add vermiculite, you're not going to have that problem. This soil will remain loose for the life of the plants, and loose soil helps the roots go way down nice and fast, helps keep oxygen in there, and it helps keep moisture on an even keel. And that is how I do my soil. Smells good too. It really does. It adds a really nice smell to the room. I like that. And Rascal loves compost too. It was actually yesterday I was putting compost into those pans to start baking it out in the oven that I have out in my shed. And I looked back, and the uncovered compost was laying out there, and he's rolling around and he's rubbing his face in the compost, so his face was just black. It was he likes doing that. He's a dog. He likes putting his face in things. Anyway, before I get started, I wanted to show you this. Remember the contest. And by the way, the first person already got their bag of dehydrated compost, and they're already starting to work with it. But I wanted to show you this. This is the little pumpkin. Remember the little seed that was inside the pumpkin when I was over there? Yeah, I planted it in a cup, and after just a few days, it was way too big for the cup. So I planted it in here, and I wanted to show you what this looks like. Take a look at this up close. Not bad. Since the last episode, it's only been, what, a couple weeks now? And this is what happened from the itty-bitty sprout 2 weeks later. Not bad for an indoor pumpkin. I mean, for an outdoor one, you may expect something, you know, a little bit more growth. But for an indoor one, that's actually not so bad. And also considering the light in here is not going to be quite as strong as outside. Nice, healthy leaves. It's growing fast. And it's in that mix that I was talking about. And that's what pumpkins do need. They do need nice, rich, well-drained soil. I don't know if this is going to provide pumpkins for me, but it is going to grow and vine and have a good time in here. Not so bad. Yeah, and that's what good soil will do. I'm not taking any credit for this. I mean, this is what soil and light will do. That's why I'm doing all of this, and I'm showing that to you so that you can do this as well, because indoor growing does not have to be difficult. As long as you got the light, the soil, and just a little bit of common sense, you can do that as well. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you was this. This is my variegated pothos. Also known as a marble queen pothos. This is a beauty. This was taken from the mother plant, which we're going to be showing you in just a moment. I got all kinds of good things for you today. But I took a clipping, And I wanted to show you up close what was going on with this thing, because it went into the soil and then it came out. Well, actually, come on over here and I'll explain it to you. I pruned this because it was getting really, really long. It was about 3.5 to 4 feet long already. So I pruned it back. I just snipped right here. And what's happening is this is a whole new shoot. This is going to be not just a leaf. It's going to be a stem with leaves. And then back here, we have the same thing. I love the way it just kind of curves like that. It's a beautiful look. That's going to be another stem. This is going to be another stem. And this is going to be another stem. Oh, and by the way, that's not the only one. We have one back here. So we're going to have all of those stems coming out and making this plant just a nice, beautiful, even plant with multiple stems coming out. And that was just from one. That's why I'm pruning the other plant back. I want to get that look. So the more stems you have coming out, the more you prune them, the more you get them back. It's an exponential kind of thing. This I wanted to show you because this is going to be something that you're going to see in the future. This was a itty bitty, you know, those itty bitty pothos that you find at Walmart for I think $2. This is one of those, and it started from one of those, and then it turned into this out of control vine. And you'll get those, you know, and that's the whole idea. That's the fun of pothos, is that they just start vining all over the place. Well, when they start vining, sometimes you're going to notice that at the top they're kind of sparse. Now I'm going to show you the easiest, best way to thicken that up and to have a nice full plant, because we do want vining plants, but we don't want them to look all bare and naked here and then have vines that are half dead and then at the very ends of the vines there's plants. That doesn't look good. It looks really bad. So what I'm doing is I'm taking out the dead leaves, because leaves will die. If you see a few leaves die on your plant, don't sweat it. That's nature. Crush those leaves up and spread them back on top of the plant. Now, pothos will put out these type of roots, and they want to look for things to grip onto or places to put these into soil, because they will root whenever they put their roots into soil. This one went in here. This one here was a big stem right over here, and this one went out, and I curved it around and I brought it back in. Now all I'm going to do on this one is every stem that comes out, you saw that first one how it had all the different sprouts coming out. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that exponentially here. I'm going to cut all of these stems short. I know this looks extreme because this was a big, beautiful plant, but then again, it will be, that's the nice thing about it, it will be big and beautiful again. Sometimes it takes tough love, and you got to be able to make the cuts, because that's what the plant requires of you. It can't do it itself. See, look at this one. This stem that's coming out here, it's missing a couple leaves, and it's looking a little sparse. Now what I'm going to do is just cut this. And my recommendation is cut them about a finger's length, about the length of your middle finger. Leave them that long, and right at the edge of the pot. Don't leave them any longer than that, okay? You'll be tempted to. Don't do it. Okay, this one is a strange one. This is just kind of laying over here, and it went this way. I'm going to take it back over this way. Snip! And there we go. Now, do not despair. The nice thing about trimming these plants is, oops, sorry, didn't mean to hit you in the face, is that you have unlimited resources to make new plants. All of these little nubs right here, whoops, it's upside down, sorry about that. You put this, like you snip it right here, and put this in a glass of water, it will start putting out roots. And then once the roots start growing, put it in a pot and you got a brand new plant. Give it to a friend, give it to a family member. Start a new plant in your house. One of these little plants that you pay $2 for, within, I'd say, 5 years, will fill your house and everybody's house you know with beautiful plants. And you can also, if you want to, if you have a dead spot here, look at this. I did this to mic the dishwashers. I cut this, and all I did was bring the soil over like this, and then I buried this just like that. And then I watered it, and it started growing. And that's what you can do to also beef this up. But I don't need to do this, all right? I don't need to do this, because this is a very important thing I want to show you here. This isn't that bad of a plant. Look, it's got new stuff that wants to grow, but all the energy was going down those big vines. This one wants to grow. Here's a new one. Here's a new one. They're coming out all over the place, and it will put out a whole bunch more. So you make it look like this, yeah, and it looks It looks like I butchered it, kind of like my mom used to cut my hair, but it will grow back. Well, it may not grow back as much now, but it did. It always grew back. And yeah, Mom, I'm making fun of your haircuts, but you know what you did to me. She loves my programs. Anyway, this is what I did to the plant. And also, if you want to at the time, you can put this into a bigger pot. This is not in a very big pot. Now, I'm not going to do that because this has to go on a shelf. I am very cramped for floor space. Otherwise, I could put this in one of those giant pots, and then I could just train it to go up the wall. Those are the most beautiful pothos of all. I mean, when those start growing up the wall, they are incredible. The leaves get monstrous, and that requires a bigger pot and planting it deep. But I'm not going to do that. Someday, I'll probably do that when I get rid of some of these other plants. But for right now, it's just a haircut. Yeah, look at you sniffing the plants. Yeah, you're my baby. Yes, you are. He's here. He's hiding behind the plant. Ah, you can't hide, little crackhead. He'll be feeling better. Don't feel sorry for him. He's going to be running amok any time now, probably as soon as the sun comes up. Anyway, that pretty much wraps it up. We're just putzing around here in the Voodoo Garden. Thanks for joining me. I really do appreciate it. If you have any questions concerning your indoor gardening, or you just want to say hi, post in the comment section below. One of us two will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. Until next time, this is Raina's Little Friends. We're out of here. Are we out of here? Yeah, I think we're out of here. Let's go.